Hi guys, how are you? Today we will discuss about DBT snapshots. So what is a DBT snapshot here? Snapshot means like we are looking back at into one particular time. Okay, look at in time, some time. Like for example, I want to check my latest uh, tracking information on order information. What is my latest order information? Okay, so my latest order information is, for example, it is ship. But I want to see what was the status one day back. That information I can get from the snapshot. So snapshot is like it will capture all the continuous changes happened in the sources into a separate table. Why? Because this is just to look back our data and verify if our data is processed correctly or not. Okay. For example, in the source pending day one, the status was pending. Okay, and day two, the status was moved to ship. Okay, and in my snapshot I have pending and snapshot. In my data warehouse, if I am maintaining SVD type 1, then what will happen? Only ship record will be there, and some user or like end user or like business analyst will ask like why my record was showing ship, it should be pending, right? In that time we will go back to our snapshot and see what was the status of today's data and what was the status of the previous data. So we can look back and say that okay, today the new record came with ship, that's why the record got updated to ship, but actually it was initially pending. Okay, like that we can get a conclusion. So this is the basic concept of DBT snapshot. Here in our project we are maintaining only one database, right? That is Snowflake database, and we loaded that data, Excel data, into our Snowflake database, and we are reading the database through DBT, and we are executing our model snapshots on that, and again loading into same database on. But here it will show like a linear flow, but it is like we are using the connecting to the DBT is connecting to the same database. Here, for sources, we will be using raw, and for targets, we will be using snapshot as the schema. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to details about this snapshot. So here, yeah. So what is a snapshot? A snapshot is a look back in time values of the state of the mutable tables. What is a mutable table? That means we can edit the table, we can modify the table. Okay. So that is about the snapshot. Snapshots can be implemented for type 2 slowly changing dimensions. Again, we will go back to type 2 slowly changing dimensions. If I tell the slowly changing dimensions, I should tell you that what are the dimensions actually. Okay. If you take a star schema in data warehouse, we have different schemas: star schema, snowflake schema, fact cancellation schema, like that. Okay. So if you take a general star schema, here you can see one fact table will be surrounded with different dimensional table. Okay, it looks like a star. That is why we call it as a star schema. Here, they are all dimensions. We call it as. In these dimensions, the data will be almost will be same. It will not change over time. Okay, for example, in the dim product, if you are mentioning some 100 products list, always the product list will be same unless there is new product is added, right? So that information will not change any hourly basis or daily basis. It will change over a month or period, right? So that is why we call it as a slowly changing dimension, because it is changing very slowly, not like a rapid manner, not like a daily or hourly basis. Okay, so in this slowly changing dimensions, again there are different categories are there. We will look back that categories. If you see here, there are majorly six slowly changing dimensions are defined as per the Wolff-Kimball this data warehousing concept. But here we will be discussing only type 1, type 2. Okay. So what is the type 0 here? Basically type 0 is it will not change. Okay. That is like date of birth, this information will not change. Right. And for type 2, the data will be changed, but only the latest data will be available to the database. Here, supplier state, initially it was CA and later it was changed to IL. So in the database, if we check, we will see only one record, that is IL. Okay, the CA will be overridden. In the type 2, we will maintain history data. Okay, what is the initial record and what is the next record, and so on. We will maintain how many times the record was updated, that many records will be maintained in the type 2. In this type 2, in as per the data warehouse, there are three different concepts can be implemented. One is versioning and date and flagging. Okay, so versioning means the latest record will always be having the version 1. Okay, remaining records will be having version 0. Whatever may be the records for that particular supplier key, it will be having 0. In the date, will be having the latest end date will be null. That means whatever the records are having null, that means they are the latest records. Okay, and the start date of this latest record will be the end date of the previous record. Okay. In the flag, similarly like versioning, the flag it will be having some effective date, the same time there will be flag. Okay, that means it will be previously when it was updated, and what is the latest updation, and what is the flag. Latest flag is Y. That means this is the latest record. Okay, this is about slowly changing dimensions in a data warehouse. Now coming to snapshots. So the snapshots can be implemented in type 2 slowly changing dimensions, especially for date field and check field. Check field means here flagging. Okay. So here, so what is can we implement this slowly changing dimensions in uh, like other tables? Like yeah, we can implement any kind of tables, but majorly it will be implemented in dimensional tables. Okay. So for example, if you see here the day 1, as I said, it is pending, and day 2 it was changed to ship. So in the snapshot, the data will be like this. Okay, and configurations. So in DBT, we will maintain the configuration in three areas majorly. One is .sql file and .yaml file and dbt underscore project. Okay, so .sql file, we will take that as a second priority than the .yaml file. Why? Because DBT is suggesting, since snapshots are like just to capture the source information, right? You are not doing any modifications in that, right? Like source of my source and table, or like ref of my table, like this, right? So why you need to maintain a separate SQL query? You can configure that in the .yaml file so that the DBT can understand it easily, and also compute cost will be lesser. Okay, so that is the major concept. If you see all these options, they are all like database name, schema name, alias name, strategy. What is the strategy? The strategy is like timestamp and check. Here the strategy means type 2 strategy. Whether you are implementing using timestamp or the check. Okay, and unique key. What is the primary key for that? And if it is a check strategy, what is the check columns? You need to mention how many columns you are checking. If the columns, any column got changed in that check, it will be treated as a new record and it will insert into the snapshot. Okay, and the update that field. So this is the latest field it was updated, that can be mentioned here. Okay, the date field. So this will be useful when we are mentioning the strategy as timestamp. Okay, and metadata columns also will be there. We will see one by one there. So now, so you got an idea of like how a DBT snapshots are defined, and the concept about that snapshots, and when we use, and what kind of tables the snapshot will be implemented. Okay. Now we'll go back to our project here. So I'm in the DBT project. I just want to check whether the project is working fine or not. So what I'll do, I'll just see DBT compile. Okay, so everything is fine. There are no issues. That means like I can go ahead and run DBT build also. Okay, so my project is right now it is having some models are creating properly, and now I am going to create a snapshot. So I have a snapshot configuration here. So what this snapshot configuration I have defined as the document said the name of the snapshot and relation the source of the which source we are reading that snapshot data and the schema which schema you want to load and database name and ID and strategy the timestamp here I am using and updated field. If this field got updated, then that record will be pulled from the source. Okay, here valid dbt value to current, so this can be mentioned as null or like can be mentioned as a max timestamp. Okay, this is double and means it's a max timestamp. Okay, so if you mention time, the benefit is like when you are writing any analytical queries or something like that, your job will be easier. Okay, if you are maintaining check, you can mention check columns or you can mention all columns also. If any column got changed, it will be pulled. Okay, but be careful like when you are mentioning columns, you may have to make sure that whether all the columns are updating or not like that. Okay, and there is one more option, hard deletes. So hard deletes means we are telling that dbt. So if my record got deleted, what I can do? Ignore. So don't do anything or invalidate or create some date field and say that okay this is not required or like new record or you enter that record and make that as a flag as a true. That means delete flag will be true. We will see all this in our in this class. Okay. Now I am going to create a snapshot YAML file. Okay, so where we will create the snapshot YAML file? This will create in under snapshot folder. Snapshot dot. Okay, okay. So okay, let's run the DBT snapshot. You can use the command DBT snapshot. So here you can see I changed the schema to snapshot to align with our trainings, right? So what will happen? Let's see this. So the snapshot command, it first read all the models, series and two snapshots is figured out and three sources. Okay. The sources is using the raw schema, right? So since we are taking a snapshot on top of raw schema, it is creating raw underscore snapshot. Okay. So this is there is a concept like schema name resolution. Using that, it is creating whatever the schema we created, we define in this. It will give the default schema underscore the custom schema which we have given, that is snapshot. Okay. So the two snapshots we provided which are created. Let's go and see what are those tables snapshots. You see here two tables. The snapshots are by default termed as a tables only. SCD raw host and SCD raw listing. Okay, I have all the queries. You can see what is the data here. So what is this schema? Raw underscore snapshot, right? Okay. You see the data was created. It was loaded in the separate raw underscore snapshot schema with the two snapshots. You can see these are all DBT related meta fields which are created. Okay, one is DBT SCD ID. This one is the kind of a unique key which is maintaining by DBT for the snapshot ID. Okay, so next time when it want to update or it want to insert a new record, it will look for this ID and it will take action accordingly. Okay, and also DBT updated, DBT valid from. These two are, it is using the older values whatever it was given in the from the this one. You can see here created and updated. These two fields it is taking and DBT valid 2. This is what we have given, right? So it is taking double nine double nine, because otherwise this value 2 will be null. Okay, if we did not give that. And also DBT is deleted. By default it is all false. It was updated with false. Why? Because no record was deleted right now. If any record was deleted, it will change it to true. Okay, and also we will see the next table. Same thing here also. Some extra columns are created, and also this is false and value 2 is so. Okay, so we are good. And before that we will see that what is the source data also. This is the raw host, right? Yeah. Raw listing. You see here, this is the source data created at updated, and host ID, minimum nights, everything was there. In addition to that, we have created 2 more records. Similarly for listing and the hosts also. You see, we have created updated user and name and ID. Only these fields are there. In addition to that, DBT created 4 more extra fields as per our configurations. Okay, so we were done. We created this snapshot and all. And snapshot can be created in 3 different ways actually. Okay, one is one is .sql file and .yaml file, and also .dbt underscore project.yaml file. Okay, this configuration can be done in 3 areas. Okay, so the precedence is DBT will look for the configuration in the .sql file, and after that .yaml file in that particular snapshot folder. After that it will look for the DBT project.yaml file. Okay, this is the order. So for example, in the .sql file, if you mention schema equal to dev, and in the .yaml file we mention schema equal to snapshot, it will take this dev as the final schema, and it will create a table in that final schema. Okay, now we will create a separate .sql files with the same concept, snapshots. Okay, see here we have created 2 SQL files. Let's see. Okay, let's save this, and also one more raw listing. Okay, so few things we need to remember. When we are creating the .sql files, we have to mention a Jinja functionality snapshot and the snapshot name, and in the configuration whatever you want to mention, you can mention here. Here if you see invalid hard deletes to true, that is also same thing which we mentioned here. Hard deletes equal to new records. These two are same. Updated we same thing given, and unique, and here the schema is dev. Okay, there we mentioned schema is snapshot. Here also same thing. We need to provide this Jinja functionality, snapshot name, and also end snapshot. These two are important. And here what we are doing, we are just simply selecting data from this table, and here also we are selecting data from this table. That is why, since we are not doing any transformation here, why to create a .sql file? That is the concept. The DBT will suggest don't create any .sql files unless they are necessary, unless you are implementing some transformation logic or some modifications you are doing in the source table. Then only you can use the .sql file. Otherwise, you can go for the YAML file. That's what the DBT will generally will suggest. Okay. So I save the two files and I'll run the DBT snapshot again. We'll see. So what it is telling, snapshot std raw listing and snapshot.ml. These two are having the same naming convention. That is why it is telling change the name of one of these resources. One thing you need to be changed. Okay. But since the schema is also different, but still it is want to change, right? This you can say table, and this is also we can say for table. Okay, and I save the code and run again. Okay, so file naming conventions also will change. Okay, now we'll try. You see here, one snapshot got failed. Okay, raw snapshot. Why raw underscore snapshot? This is the schema and raw listing. This was failed. Okay, we will see that, and we create total 4 snapshots are created. 2 snapshots are created under dev schema, and 2 are created under raw underscore snapshot schema. Okay, since we in the configuration we mentioned schema, target schema is dev, it is taking the dev schema. Okay, and here schema is snapshot, it is creating in this. Okay, total 4 different tables are created, and there was one failure was happened. Why it was happened? Duplicate row detected during DML action. Okay, it seems like there is a duplicate row in the raw listing. That is why it was failed. Okay, we can check the .ml file. Okay, the compiled file in this directory, target run this directory. If you click on that, you can see that this is the um, query which is going to execute in the target database. Okay, here the target database is Snowflake, so that it will be running like this. Okay, merge into this database, this snapshot and raw listing as a DBT internal, and using snapshot std temporary whatever the recent data we received, and this is the target table. So this is comparing on DBT SVD ID. As I said, it is comparing based on the SVD ID. So what will happen when match? This should be done, right? But it is telling like some duplicate records are there. That means there is a SVD data which is more than one. SVD ID is having more than one record. We'll see. So it is telling like this is having 2 records, same records, where it is having. We'll write a query and see that. So let's see. So this ID is having 2 records. 3176. You see, having 2 duplicate records. That is why it is not able to create one more time. It is confused. DBT value 2 is also same, and everything is same, right? And this room is got changed, but still the ID was same, because this ID was creating based on some total all columns. It was created same. So that is why it is throwing error. What we need to do is we will delete one ID, or like we will delete total records, and we'll run the job. std okay, commit. Okay, now anyhow these three are created, right? We need to see these two. Dev, where is the dev schema? Okay, dev schema are created, and two tables are created here. Okay, and raw listing is not created. This is the older one, 14 minutes ago. This is also older one, right? So it was not created. Raw host is created, and we will run this again one more time. DBT snapshot. Now we will run only one snapshot. We don't need to run entire thing, right? So std exclude. We will use exclude raw host. So raw listing was created, and if you see a raw listing from dev, it was created, and total three are created. One was missed. What is that? Raw host was missed from Airbnb raw snapshot. It was missed, but in the dev it was not missed out, because when we are providing the exclude, we need to provide one more condition also to specifically mention that snapshots slash raw host here. Then only it will take that, because it has to go to that path and it will exclude that way. So here that is it was not. It is again it was pulled out and it was created. Okay, and listing anyhow we have not excluded. That is why it was created, and this is the actual one it was created. Okay, so we'll go ahead and check that. Yeah, see again two records are created with the two std id. Again it will be a problem in our next run, right? Let's run one more time and see. Now we will run only the select. We will select only the. Okay, see now it was failed. It is saying database error snapshot. What is that? Duplicate row detected during DML operation. That is in the initial stage, in the source row itself, the duplicate was received. So we have to first remove that duplicate record from the source. Raw listing. Okay, you see here in the source itself, the duplicate record was creating, and surprisingly, it was creating same. Here the room type is different, but it was creating same ID because ID is same. When we are creating the snapshot, what we told the snapshot, we told the snapshot that unique ID is this one. So that is why it was creating same ID, right? To avoid this, what we have to do, we have to maintain only one single record. We will delete one record and we will insert one record. Okay. So here I am deleting this record, one record. Zero record is deleted because I gave some condition created at is greater than or equal to some condition, or like we can simply delete two records with that ID, and we will insert one record. Okay, and commit. Now the table will be having only one record. Okay, super. Now we will run the job again one more time, and I think we committed. So why again it was coming? From the source we are receiving only single record, but in the target already two records are inserted, right? What we need to do from the target also we have to delete. We'll go to the target. Okay, raw listing where ID equal to this one. I will delete snapshot raw. Okay, and I will commit. I am deleting two records. Okay, commit. Now run the job. Yeah, now it is succeeded. Now it will be inserted one record, one unique record. So we have to be careful when we are dealing with duplicate records, or else like we will write a you see here it was created, and we'll do one thing. We'll delete this record from the source and we'll see if the flag should be updated to true. Okay, and what I'm doing here, anyhow I have the backup, right? So I am deleting this record. Okay, deleted and commit. Commit. I'm going back and I run the job. Now what will happen? Okay, the job got completed. Go ahead and see the target. Okay, so two records are created, and you see here DBT SCD ID is different, right? Perfect. And one record was true, that means this record was deleted. Okay, so in the snapshot the purpose is we should maintain the history, but the history should not be duplicate. That is first one thing. And the key it was creating, when the source itself we are getting the duplicate records, the key will be same. So source, when we are reading the source, you have to careful, you should not insert the duplicate records, and also maintain the, if you think like the duplicate records are coming, you need to maintain some like key structure. Okay, instead of one unique key you can mention 2 3 unique key columns. Here we said unique key is ID, right? You can mention one or two columns to avoid this duplicate key issue. Okay, and go back to that sheet. What we covered? We covered uh, yeah. So we covered what are the snapshots. We have seen that we configure the snapshots, and we forget to configure in that uh, project, right? DBT project file. So DBT project file. Here also we can mention like this. Okay, snapshots and project name. Okay, and the name of the snapshot and configuration. So when will we go for this DBT underscore project? If you want to maintain, if you want to configure, like for example in your snapshot directory you have some 10 snapshots are there. Okay, that means 10 different tables are you are snapshotting, and you know that you are maintaining only one schema, one database, and right, unique keys might be different, but schema and database will be same, right? In that case, what you will do, simply you come here in the DBT project level and you mention one schema and database name. So it will take the presidency, and here in this project level, in this .sql level, you don't mention that. Okay, so that way it will be, So here you know you to mention the target schema name, right, and database name. There you can mention that. That way, the if any common configurations among all the nodes, right, you can mention in the dbt underscore project. Okay. If any particular to that files, you can mention to in the .sql file configuration. If something is you can mention it all together in one area, then you can go for the snapshot.config. Okay. So where is snapshot here? So common area you can mention here one at one go. So generally, we can directly go for snapshot.yaml. So we covered configuration, add a snapshot to our project we added, and configure best practices we have. So we'll see that how snapshot works. We have changed that. Detecting row changes we have seen that, and timestamp strategy we have checked that, and check strategy we have checked that, and hard deletes also we have seen that it was true. And snapshot meta fields. Snapshot meta fields, like there is one more concept, meta fields. Like these are all the meta fields actually. So valid DBT, which were starting from DBT underscore, these are all meta fields. Okay. DBT meta field, it is providing one more like additional feature for the BI purpose. Okay. If you want to analyze the output, I mean target data in the business in analytics, instead of mentioning dbt underscore scd or dbt underscore b2, if you want to give some generic name, like for example updated valid from, or like close date start date, you can rename that. So it gives that flexibility using that meta configuration. You go here, you can check that. So see here, the check columns we can give like this, one or two columns, or like we can give all. Okay. Yeah, we have seen that new record, and we can configure invalidate also. Invalidate, what would it will behave? It will behave something like existing invalidate record, where delete records are invalidated. Okay, so the valid two will be putting some value. Okay, yeah, here you see true. That means this was deleted. Here the meta fields. So the meta fields are these fields. We can configure them. Uh, you see here like this, dbt value to current string, dbt value to current string. So here we can mention the description also, dbt value to meta fields with a description. Okay, yeah. This is just for the renaming purpose, and if you want to like write some description, something like that, we can put it here. Otherwise, we can keep them as it is. And so we covered all these things, and we'll go back to that. Some other concepts like facts. We'll see the facts. Okay. How do I run one snapshot at a time? So you can run by select. And how often should I run a snapshot command? So generally snapshot should be run very frequently, because the data will be changing very frequently, right? If you are running in after 1 month, and snapshot, it will not take the in between data, right? So snapshots are batch based process, change data capture CDC, right? So the DBT snapshot command must be run on a schedule to ensure that changes to tables are actually recorded. So changes to the tables will happen very frequently, right? So at least you have to run hourly base, like a daily base. You see here between hourly and daily base. What happens if I add new columns to my snapshot query? So when a new column of snapshot query changes, DBT will attempt to reconcile this change in the destination snapshot table. DBT does this by creating new column from the source query in the destination table, expanding size of the string size type. Okay, it will do that. DBT will not delete the columns in the destination snapshot table if they are removed. Okay, if you remove the columns, it will not remove. Okay, it will just adjust that. So, do hooks run with snapshots? Yes, yes, they will run. By hooks also we can run the snapshot. Okay, we can do that in the separate session. Can I store my snapshot in a different directory other than the snapshot directory in my project? By default, it is storing in the snapshot directory. Yeah, you can share in the different directory also. You can share in the different directory also. But in the DBT project, in the snapshot path, you need to mention that separate path. So in the DBT project, here we are mentioning the model path, right? Here snapshot path we given the snapshot directory name. If you want to store the snapshot in separate directory, give the directory name here and store in the directory. Debug snapshot target is not a snapshot table error. So if you see following error, so what is the snapshot table error? If you see a following error when you execute the snapshot command, snapshot target is not a snapshot table. You see. So this is a kind of error, right? If you are not giving the snapshot here the name, it will not treat it as a snapshot. Okay, you have to be careful on that. Okay, these are all some regular common questions regarding the snapshot. And okay, so we have covered this configuration best practice also. So when using this timestamp strategy and the DBT value to current timestamp, ensure unique is really unique and use a unique schema that is separate to your model. So we are maintaining separate snapshot schema. So use ephemeral model to clean or transform data before snapshotting. If you want to, like, instead of coming from directly from the snapshot, coming from directly from the source, if you want to do some changes, what you can do, you create a .sql file. Okay, and in the .sql file, what you need to do, you have to mention this configuration as a the material as a ephemeral. Okay, so that this will not created any table, and this is not a snapshot. Okay, this is a separate model. Okay, create a model in this model directory, where here we are, you can mention that as a ephemeral model, and you do some whatever the transformations you do here, and use that model as a ref here instead of source. You can use the ref and you can use that, so that it will be, you need to create a separate SQL file, .sql file. That's what is telling here. Yeah, yeah, that's all. Thank you.